The streets of Outpost 9 were cold that night. Even though the twin moons hung low and bright in the sky, rain fell slowly like the world itself was crying. Jack moved quietly through the alleyways, his boots splashing in puddles. He wore a brown coat with a hood pulled low, his face hidden from the cameras above. Outpost 9 wasn't Earth, but it wasn't home for anyone else either. Just another broken place on the edge of the galaxy, where no one cared what happened to anyone. Jack was just a mechanic. He fixed old machines and drones. Nothing more, but tonight something felt strange. Like the air held a whisper he couldn't hear yet. Then he stopped. There it was again, a soft sound. A weak cry, barely louder than the rain. He turned and looked between two trash bins. At first he saw nothing but shadows and junk. But then his eyes caught movement. Something was curled up under a piece of dirty cloth. Slowly he stepped closer, and what he saw made his heart freeze for a moment. It was an alien woman, thin, trembling, soaked in rain. Her skin was pale purple and covered with strange markings. In her arms she held a small child, also alien. The child was limp, eyes closed, skin turning gray. Not breathing properly. She looked up at him. Her eyes were wide, glowing softly in the dark. Tears ran down her cheeks, mixing with the rain. "Please," she whispered, her voice broken. "Help my son. Please." Jack hesitated. Helping an alien here was dangerous, especially one that looked like a fugitive. Outpost 9 had strict rules. Aliens from certain planets weren't allowed in the human zones. And if anyone saw him helping her, he'd be marked too, lose his job, maybe even disappear. He looked around. The alley was empty, no guards, no drones for now. He knelt beside her. "What happened to him?" he asked softly. "Poison and food," she said, her voice shaking. "Cheap scraps. He too weak." Jack touched the boy's forehead. It was cold. Too cold. He didn't know alien biology, but this child was dying, and fast. She clutched Jack's coat with weak hands. "You human!" "Good heart. Please save him." Jack didn't know what made him move. Maybe it was her eyes full of pain and love. Maybe it was the way the child's fingers barely twitched like he was trying to hold on. Or maybe Jack just didn't want to walk away again. Not this time. He picked the boy up carefully. The alien woman gasped, as if surprised he would touch her child. "Come," Jack said firmly. "I know someone who might help." She nodded weakly, standing up and following him, limping slightly. Her body was hurt too. Jack could see it now. Bruises on her arms and a long cut across her leg. They moved fast, avoiding the main roads. Jack led her through hidden paths behind old buildings, past shut-down shops and flickering neon lights. The rain kept falling, but now it seemed softer, almost quiet, like the city was holding its breath. Finally, they reached a rusted door at the back of a forgotten building. Jack knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. A small camera lens blinked above them, scanning, then a click. The door opened. Inside was a small clinic hidden from the law, run by old war medics who didn't ask questions. "Help her," Jack said as he stepped in. "The kid's dying." An older woman in a white coat rushed forward. She took the child from Jack's arms and laid him on a table. Another medic pulled the alien woman to a chair, checking her leg. The doctor looked up at Jack after scanning the boy. "His organs are failing," she said. "He's not human." "But we'll try." Jack stood back watching. He felt a strange pull in his chest, something heavy. Why did he care so much about this alien child? He didn't even know their names. The alien woman looked at him, her eyes red. "You didn't have to help," she whispered. "But you did." Jack nodded slowly. "Just try to hold on," he replied. "Your kid still has a chance." She looked at her child, and her lips moved silently, maybe a prayer in her language, maybe just a mother's hope. And Jack stood beside her in that quiet clinic, not knowing that this single moment would change everything, not knowing that saving this dying alien child would soon pull him into a storm that reached across the stars. The dim lights of the secret clinic flickered overhead. The room smelled like old medicine and burned wires. Jack stood near the doorway, soaked from the rain, watching silently as the alien boy lay on the metal table. The medic, a tired-looking woman named Dr. Haynes, worked fast. Her hands moved over the strange child with scanners, injectors and tools Jack didn't recognize. Beside her, another assistant patched up the alien mother's bleeding leg. The mother sat still, trembling. Her name, she finally said, was Lyra. She had crossed many light years, on foot, by cargo crates, in stolen escape pods just to reach this human colony. And now, here in the shadows of Outpost 9, her son was barely breathing. His heart is failing, Dr. Haynes muttered, reading the scans. Lungs, too. She sighed and looked at Jack. I don't have the right serum for his blood type. Not for his species, Jack stepped forward. So what can we do? Dr. Haynes frowned. His body is rejecting something, probably a synthetic toxin. She pointed at the screen. We need a rare compound, something like Virexium-9. But that stuff is tightly controlled. Only found in restricted mining zones near the Black Ridge. Jack knew what that meant. Danger, radiation, patrols, and no forgiveness if caught. The Black Ridge was a forbidden zone, a collapsed mining site where old tech and rare minerals were buried beneath rubble and drones. No one went there anymore. Unless they were desperate or mad, can't you get it? Jack asked. I don't have contacts anymore, Dr. Haynes said. The black market dried up last year. No one's risking that place now. Jack looked at Lyra, who clutched her son's hand gently. Tears ran down her cheeks again, but she didn't make a sound. She just looked, empty, like she had nothing left to give. Then she looked up at Jack and whispered, Please save him. I'll give anything, do anything. Jack wasn't rich, wasn't powerful, wasn't anyone special. Just a guy with old boots, rough hands, and a heart that couldn't ignore suffering anymore. But deep down he knew what he had to do. Even if it meant risking his life, I'll go, Jack said quietly. I know a path to the Black Ridge. Dr. Haynes raised an eyebrow. That's suicide, Jack. You get caught, you disappear forever. He shrugged. Then I better not get caught. Lyra's eyes widened, her lips trembling. Why? You don't even know us. Jack didn't answer at first. He just looked at the boy's pale face, barely breathing, chest rising in weak gasps. Then he said, Because someone has to care, and right now that's me. Before leaving, Jack made sure the clinic gave Lyra a safe room. Warm blankets and food. She tried to stop him, grabbing his hand with her weak fingers. Be careful, she said softly. You have kind eyes. Don't let them go dark, Jack nodded once, then left into the night. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the streets were still wet and quiet. He made his way back to his small workshop, unlocking the side door and heading inside. The shop was full of old tools, broken drones, and parts from 100 machines. Jack dug through crates until he found what he needed. An old mining suit with basic radiation shielding. He also grabbed his EMP knife, a cloaking tag, and a dusty hoverbike that hadn't been used in months. Before leaving, he stared at an old photo on the wall. His sister. Gone now, taken by war years ago. He never could save her, maybe. Saving this child was a second chance. He rode the hoverbike through dark tunnels, taking a forgotten maintenance path that led to the edge of the restricted zone. The Black Ridge was quiet at first. Just rocks, ruins, and silence, but the deeper he went, the more he saw the old mining machines, broken claws, shattered turrets, and rusting cargo haulers. Then came the drones floating silently above the ground. Scanning for life signs, Jack hid behind broken walls, crawled through collapsed shafts. Every step was careful, every breath slow. He found the mineral scanner buried under debris. There were small traces of Virexium-9 nearby, but he only had minutes to grab it before the drones looped back. He started digging with his bare hands, then his EMP knife, breaking through soft rock until he saw the glowing blue crystal. It was beautiful and deadly. He sealed it quickly in a shielded container and turned to leave. But the moment he stood up, a red light blinked behind him. A drone had spotted the heat signature from the dig. Alarms sounded in the distance. Jack cursed and ran. The drone chased him, lasers firing and burning walls near his head. He jumped into a broken cargo lift, smashing the panel to drop fast. Sparks flew everywhere as he landed hard. His ankle twisting, still he didn't stop. He limped into a sewer pipe, climbed out on the other side of the ridge, and rode his bike like hell back toward the clinic. Toward the boy who still had a chance to live. Back toward a promise he didn't even realize he had made yet. Jack's body ached. His ankle throbbed with every step, but his grip on the container holding the rare Virexium-9 was tight. He didn't care about the pain. All that mattered was getting back, fast. He pushed the hoverbike to its limit. It buzzed loudly across the rocky flats outside Black Ridge. Ash clouds from old mining explosions still floated in the air. The drone that had chased him didn't follow far, but Jack knew they would scan the area again soon. The wind howled as he sped through narrow passages and broken tunnels. Each turn was risky. One wrong move and he could crash into a wall or fall into a crater. But Jack had been a miner once, years ago. He knew how to survive where machines failed. His face was soaked with sweat. Dirt clung to his suit, still he kept going. Lyra's eyes haunted his mind. Her voice echoed in his ears. "Please save my son." An hour later, the broken neon sign of the hidden clinic appeared. Jack slid the bike to a stop and limped to the entrance. He banged on the door 3 times, then 2 more, just like before. The scanner blinked, recognized him, and unlocked the door. Inside, Dr. Haynes rushed forward. "You look like you crawled through fire," she said, half joking. Jack didn't smile. "Got it," he said, holding out the container. The doctor's eyes widened. "You actually did it." She took the vial and ran to prepare the treatment. Lyra stood nearby, holding her son close. Her eyes lit up with hope for the first time. Jack's knees gave out and he sank into a chair, breathing hard. Minutes passed like hours. Dr. Haynes injected the serum into the alien boy's arm. At first, nothing happened, then a flicker of color returned to the child's cheeks. His chest began to rise more steadily. He made a small sound, like a whimper, but it was life. Real life, returning. Lyra gasped and fell to her knees beside the table. She touched her son's forehead gently and whispered something in her language. Jack watched in silence. His heart felt heavy and warm at the same time. He had saved a life, but the peace didn't last long. A loud ping came from the scanner near the clinic door. Dr. Haynes rushed to the console. Her face went pale. Someone reported movement in the Black Ridge. Patrols are sweeping the outer zones now. She looked at Jack. "If they trace anything back here, we're all finished." Jack stood, limping over. "I was careful," he said. "No ID tags, no real heat trail." Dr. Haynes gave him a serious look. "Still, Lyra can't stay here, and neither can you. The kid might be safe for now, but they'll come if they smell anything unusual." Lyra stood up slowly, holding her son in her arms. She looked at Jack with gratitude and fear. "My people. They won't stop," she whispered. "They hunt me. They hunt him." Jack narrowed his eyes. "Why?" She hesitated, then pulled something out from a cloth bag. A small, glowing crystal, cracked and dim. "This," she said softly, "is not just a light. It's a memory stone. It holds my son's true name, his history, his power." Jack stared, confused. "Power?" Lyra nodded, her voice shaking. "My son is not normal. He was born with a gift. His mind connects to old voices, ancient ones. My people feared him. They wanted to use him. So I ran." Jack looked at the child, so small, so innocent, yet already carrying something greater than himself. And the thought hit him like a storm. If they find him, they won't just kill them. They'll take the child and turn him into a weapon. A knock rattled the clinic's outer door. Not a code knock. A loud, angry bang followed by a metallic voice. "Open. This is Patrol Unit 7 security sweep in progress." Dr. Haynes cursed under her breath. Too late. "They're here." Jack didn't wait. He grabbed Lyra's arm. "Back exit now." They ran down a dark hallway, past shelves of dusty supplies and rusted equipment. Lyra carried her son tightly. While Jack pushed open the emergency hatch, cold night air blasted in. But it was better than cuffs or plasma rounds. Behind them, the clinic door blasted open, voices shouting, "Freeze! Hands up!" Jack pulled Lyra through the narrow escape tunnel. It led to a maintenance shaft under the city, rarely used, full of cables and leaking pipes. They crawled through muck and steam, the sound of boots growing fainter behind them. Finally, they reached the surface near Jack's workshop. He helped Lyra up, breathing hard. "Inside. Quick!" They ducked into the workshop and locked the door. Jack pulled an old curtain across the window and leaned back against the wall. Everything was quiet now. Too quiet, Lyra sat on the floor holding her son. The boy opened his eyes slowly, weak but alive. He looked up at Jack and gave the smallest smile. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He didn't know what the future would bring. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about mercy anymore, it was about survival and Jack. Jack was in it all the way. The morning came slowly. A dull light crept through the cracks in Jack's workshop walls. But there was no peace in the quiet, only tension. Only the weight of a decision waiting to fall. Jack stood near the window, holding a steaming mug. His eyes scanned the street outside, empty, for now. But he knew eyes were watching. Cameras. Drones, maybe worse, behind him. Lyra sat on a small blanket, her son resting in her lap. The child was still weak but breathing easier now. His skin was warmer, his heartbeat stronger. He gripped his mother's shirt with small fingers as if afraid she'd vanish again. "You saved him," Lyra said softly, looking at Jack. He nodded once. "For now," but before Jack could say more, a loud ping came from his old wall terminal. A red flashing alert. Jack walked over and pressed a few buttons, his eyes widened. "What is it?" Lyra asked, standing up slowly, worried. Jack's voice was low. "You've been marked." He turned the screen so she could see. An official notice was displayed, issued by the Colonial Authority and shared across bounty channels. Wanted, alien female, unregistered. Crime, escaped bioweapon transport. Reward, 50,000 credits. Dead or alive. Lyra's face went pale. Jack stared at her, stunned. Bioweapon? What the hell is this? She closed her eyes and took a breath. Then slowly she spoke. "I didn't want to tell you. I thought I could hide it long enough to protect him." She looked down at her son, who was still sleeping peacefully. "But the truth is, my child is part of a secret experiment." Jack sat down across from her, silent. Lyra continued. "There was a lab on my planet, a place where children were born, not by love but by design. Mixed genes, human strands, alien memories. My son was the first one to survive." Her voice broke slightly. "They called him Project Echo, but I called him Aaron." Jack was stunned. "You're telling me they made him as a weapon?" Lyra nodded slowly. "But he wasn't a weapon. He was a child, my child. I couldn't let them turn him into something cold, something cruel. So I ran, I stole a pod and escaped. That's when they put the bounty on me." Jack leaned back, his mind racing. 50,000 credits. That was life-changing money in a broken place like Outpost 9. Enough to buy a ship, a new identity, even leave this planet forever. And all he had to do was turn her in. He stared at her for a long time, then looked at the boy, Aaron. The child stirred, his small hand reaching for Lyra's. So innocent, so unaware of the storm outside. Jack stood up slowly. He walked over to the window and closed the metal shutter tight. Then he turned to Lyra. "I don't care what they call him. He's just a kid." Lyra's eyes shimmered. You still trust me?" Jack nodded. "I've seen what real monsters look like. You're not one of them." Before Lyra could respond, a noise echoed outside. Boots, whispers, metal tapping the ground. Jack rushed to a hidden panel near the back wall and opened it. Inside were 3 old blaster rifles and a small energy shield device. He threw the shield to Lyra. "Put this around him. If they break in, keep your body over him and don't move." Lyra's hands shook as she followed his order. Jack moved toward the entrance. Slowly, rifle ready, through the front peephole. He saw them. 3 bounty hunters, armored, faces hidden, weapons drawn. One of them spoke in a deep voice. "We know you have her. Jack, you've got one chance to hand her over." Jack's blood boiled. They knew his name. Someone had tipped them off. He didn't answer. The bounty hunter stepped closer. 50,000 credits. "No one will judge you. She's not worth your life, human." Jack clenched his fists. "You want her? Come and get her." The next second, smoke grenades exploded through the windows. Gas filled the room. Laser blasts hit the walls. Sending sparks flying, Lyra grabbed Aaron. Shielding him with the energy dome, Jack rolled to the side. Fired at the first shadow entering the door. A direct hit to the chest. The body fell back hard, groaning. The second bounty hunter dove behind the workbench. Firing blindly, Jack ducked and returned fire. Hitting a fuel canister, it burst in flame, sending heat across the room. The third bounty hunter shouted, "Fall back!" Fall back. The attackers retreated into the alley, coughing. But not before the remaining one shouted, "This isn't over, Jack. You've made your choice." Silence returned, broken only by the soft hum of the energy shield. Jack stood there, heart pounding. He looked back at Lyra and Aaron. They were safe for now. Lyra stepped forward, her voice soft and shaken. "They'll keep coming." Jack nodded. "I know." He looked around his damaged workshop, then back at her. "But next time, we won't wait for them. We run first." The workshop smelled like smoke and burning wires. Sparks still fell from the broken ceiling lights. Jack moved carefully through the wreckage. Checking for any damage to the walls, everything was cracked. But still holding, no fire, no breach. Yet Lyra sat in the corner, arms wrapped around her child. The energy shield around them had flickered out after the attack. But it had done its job. Aaron was safe, still alive. Still breathing, Jack finally turned to her. "We can't stay here," he said quietly. "They'll come back. With more." Lyra nodded slowly. "I know," she whispered. "But I don't know where to go anymore." Jack walked over to his old map table. He pulled out a tattered star chart and spread it across the surface. "There's an abandoned station near the edge of this system," he said. "No patrols, no cameras. I worked there once when I was young, back when the mining guild still paid." Lyra looked at him with tired eyes. "Even if we reach it, how do we survive?" Jack pointed to a small dot on the map. "This station had medical units, backup power, and air recycling. If we can restart it, maybe we can hide, at least for a little while." Before she could respond, a faint voice broke the silence. "Hide? From who?" Both Jack and Lyra froze. The voice was soft, childlike, and came from Aaron. He was awake. Sitting up straight, his glowing eyes fixed on Jack. Jack blinked. You can talk now?" Aaron tilted his head slightly. "I always could. But Mama said stay quiet." Jack glanced at Lyra, who was already tearing up. "You haven't spoken since I found you in that alley." Aaron looked down, then placed a small hand on the floor. The metal under his palm shimmered for a second, then a blue light spread in a ripple, like water disturbed by wind. Jack stepped back, alarmed. "What was that?" Lyra's voice was soft but serious. "He's changing, fast. Faster than I thought." Aaron looked up at her. "I hear things," he said. "Voices in the machines. Whispers in the dark." Jack and Lyra exchanged a look. Aaron turned to Jack. "You're kind," he said. "You don't lie. That's why I spoke to you." Jack was still trying to understand. "What do you mean, voices in machines?" The child stood up and walked to the wall. He touched a broken power panel. Suddenly, the cracked lights above them blinked back to life, glowing steady, even though the power source had been damaged earlier. Jack's eyes widened. "That's not just a trick." Lyra placed a hand on her chest. "It's part of the project. They tried to make him part biological, part code. Half blood, half signal," Jack whispered. "He can control machines." Aaron turned back toward them. "I don't like hurting people," he said, "but I will, if they try to take Mama again." Lyra rushed forward and hugged him tightly. "No, Aaron, we don't hurt unless we must. You must never lose your heart." The boy closed his eyes, resting his head on her shoulder. "I understand." Jack stood silent for a moment. Then he stepped toward the back of the workshop and began pulling a tarp off an old vehicle, a transport shuttle, dusty and half-rusted but still solid. "We leave tonight," he said. "If Aaron's powers are growing, others will sense it. Machines talk. Networks remember." Lyra nodded, still holding her son. "I'll help you fix it." The next few hours were quiet but tense. Jack worked fast, rewiring the shuttle's core systems, testing fuel cells, sealing cracks in the hull. Lyra cleaned supplies, packed food, and wrapped Aaron in warm clothes. But something strange began to happen as the night grew deeper. Jack noticed screens flickering on their own, tools moving without touch, lights dimming whenever Aaron walked by, then glowing when he looked at them. At one point, a dead battery sparked back to life near the boy's feet. Jack watched from the corner of his eye. The child was changing everything around him, without even trying. Jack approached Lyra in the side room. "We need to talk," he whispered. She turned to him, worried. "I know. You've seen it, haven't you?" Jack nodded. "His powers are not just rare, they're growing out of control." Lyra's face fell. "They told me, back in the lab. If his mind keeps expanding, it could link to all systems in a region. He won't just listen to machines, he'll become one with them." Jack stared at her. "You mean he could shut down cities? Take over ships?" She nodded slowly. "If he chooses to." Jack rubbed his face. "Then why do I still feel like he's just a scared little boy?" "Because he is," Lyra said softly. "And that's why he needs love, not fear." Suddenly the workshop lights went dark. Not just flickered, dead. Total silence followed. Then Aaron's voice rang out from the main room. "They found us." Jack rushed out, heart pounding. A small hologram floated above Aaron's hands, a red signal. A hunter drone was approaching fast. "We need to leave. Now," Jack shouted. The shuttle powered up as if it had heard him. Lights flicked on, engines hummed. Jack turned to Aaron. "Did you do that?" Aaron gave a small nod. "I told the ship we need it." "It listened." Jack stared in shock, then smiled just a little. "Good, tell it we're flying out of here." The shuttle roared to life under the dark sky. Old engines, dusty controls, but somehow, Aaron had made it work. Jack sat in the pilot's seat. Hands tight on the wheel, Lyra sat beside him, holding Aaron close as they rose above the rooftops of Outpost 9. Below, red dots moved through the streets. Bounty hunters, patrol drones, scanners. They were all too late. Jack looked out the window, breathing hard. "Let's hope that station still exists," he muttered. He wasn't a trained pilot, but the ship moved smoothly, almost like it wanted to fly. He glanced back at Aaron, who was watching the stars through the glass. The child's eyes glowed faintly blue. His fingers gently tapped the armrest, and the ship's systems hummed with every tap. Lyra noticed it too. "He's becoming part of it," she whispered. Jack nodded. "Then let's hope he still remembers how to be human." They flew for 3 hours, dodging satellites and staying below radar. Finally they saw it, Station Echo 7, floating near the edge of the system. Old, forgotten, silent, a large metal structure. Scarred by meteors and time, it looked like a ghost in space. The docking doors opened as they approached, without being told. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Did you do that?" he asked Aaron. The boy nodded slowly. "It was sleeping. I woke it up." They docked, stepped inside, and walked down cold metal halls. Jack powered on the lights, but most were already glowing. Aaron's presence was enough to make the station stir. Doors opened without sound. Vents hummed softly. Even the gravity felt smoother inside. They found an old command room with working consoles. Jack set up camp there while Lyra settled Aaron on a bunk. They finally had peace. For a little while, but peace didn't last. Lyra's body was breaking down. Fast, the stress, the wounds. The sleepless days were all catching up to her. She collapsed the next morning, coughing up blood. Jack ran to her side. She tried to smile. "I'm fine," she whispered. "Just tired." Aaron stood near the wall. His small fists clenched. He knew something was wrong, but he didn't understand why his mother was growing weaker while he was growing stronger. Jack carried Lyra to the old medical pod. It still worked. Barely. The scans showed organ failure. Infection, internal bleeding, she needed full regeneration. But the pod required a power source that no longer existed. Jack searched the station logs. There was one option left. A backup energy core in the reactor chamber, deep below the main level. It was unstable. But it could power the medical pod for one cycle. Only one. Jack made the decision without telling Lyra. He took a pressure suit, climbed down broken ladders and twisted stairs until he reached the reactor core. The air was hot, metallic, humming with danger. He connected the main line to the core and started rerouting the flow. But the system required a living key, someone to hold the connection manually. If he let go, the cycle would stop. If he stayed, the radiation would slowly kill him. Back in the med room, Lyra woke up inside the pod. The system had activated. She looked around, confused. Then she saw Aaron standing nearby, tears in his eyes. "Where's Jack?" she asked. "He's downstairs," Aaron said softly. "He said he had to stay, to fix the power." Lyra's heart stopped. She sat up fast, eyes wide. No, he wouldn't." Aaron looked at her, trembling. "He gave me this," he said, holding up Jack's old pendant. He said, "If I ever feel lost, just remember him." Lyra tried to get out of the pod, but the machine locked her in. The healing process had begun. She screamed, pounded the glass, but Jack was already too far below to hear. Down in the chamber, Jack's hands were shaking. His skin felt like fire, but he kept holding the connection. Just a little longer, just until the pod finished. Just until she lived, but suddenly everything stopped. The energy flow halted, the lights dimmed. Jack looked up, confused. Then he saw him, Aaron, standing in the doorway, eyes glowing bright. "No," Jack whispered. "Get out of here. You can't be down here." Aaron walked forward. "The station listens to me now," he said. "And I listen to you." He touched the panel beside Jack. The cables shifted on their own, wrapping around Aaron's small arms instead. The reactor roared back to life. Brighter than before, Jack gasped. "What are you doing?" Aaron smiled, tears falling down his cheeks. "I learned mercy. From you." The power surged, flowing up to the medical pod. Lyra's wounds vanished, her skin healed, her heart beat strong again. Back in the reactor room, Jack tried to pull Aaron free. But the energy didn't harm the boy. It obeyed him. It answered him, and when it was done, Aaron stepped back unharmed. He looked at Jack and said softly, "You gave me life. I won't let you give yours away." Jack stared in awe. The boy wasn't just surviving anymore, he was changing into something greater. Not a weapon, not a monster, but something the galaxy had never seen. A soft glow filled the quiet room. The medical pod hissed open slowly. Releasing warm air, Lyra stepped out, standing tall. Her body healed, strong again. She looked down at her hands, then touched her chest. Her heart beat steady, no pain, no weakness, but her eyes searched for only one thing. "Jack?" she called out, voice trembling. Jack stood at the doorway, alive, exhausted but smiling. He leaned against the wall, covered in dust and sweat, but there was a look in his eyes that Lyra had never seen before. Relief. And something deeper. "You're okay," he said, almost in disbelief. Lyra rushed to him and pulled him into a hug. "You fool," she whispered. "You were ready to give everything," Jack chuckled weakly. It was worth it. Behind them, Aaron sat on the floor, drawing with glowing wires that floated in the air. He shaped them into stars, moons, and strange symbols. But when he saw his mother walking, smiling, he dropped everything and ran to her. "Mama," he cried, arms open. She caught him mid-air, holding him close. Tears streamed down her face. "My baby? You saved me." Jack watched from a distance. He had never known what a real family looked like before, but now he saw it in front of him, not because of blood. Not because of species, but because of love. Because of sacrifice later. The three of them sat in the main control room of the station. Jack checked the old star maps. Lyra prepared a meal from what supplies they had. Aaron floated in zero gravity near the ceiling, guiding the station's systems with his thoughts. "We can't stay here forever," Jack said finally. "Sooner or later, someone will come looking." Lyra nodded. "I know. The bounty is still active. The Empire won't stop." Jack leaned forward, looking at Aaron. "He's not just a child anymore. You feel it too, right?" Lyra didn't answer at first. Then she said, "He's becoming something new. Something the galaxy isn't ready for." Aaron floated down and sat beside them. "I don't want to run anymore," he said quietly. "I want to help others, like you helped me." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You're just a kid, Aaron." "But I hear them," Aaron whispered. "Machines across space, stations, ships, old AIs. They're sad, broken, forgotten, just like Mama was. Just like I was." Jack's heart ached hearing that. He exchanged a glance with Lyra. She nodded slowly. Maybe it's time to stop hiding. They spent the next few weeks repairing the station. Under Aaron's influence, systems worked better than ever. Lights glowed brighter. Air was cleaner. Even gravity was balanced. It was like the station was alive again, reborn with them. Jack installed new defenses and cloaking panels. Lyra turned an old lab into a living space, growing food with hydrotech. Aaron did things Jack couldn't even explain. He connected to star relays, sent harmless pulses across satellites, not to control, but to listen. And what he heard was pain, refugees hiding on broken moons, children lost on abandoned ships, AI cores begging for release from shutdown, whispers from the edges of forgotten empires. One night Aaron walked into Jack's room. "I want to help them," he said, "but I can't do it alone." Jack looked at him. "You want to become a voice for the forgotten?" Aaron nodded. "With you and Mama." So they began. Not as rebels, not as soldiers, but as something new. A small ship left the station, a beacon pod carrying a simple message. "We are not enemies. We are a family. We will protect those who are left behind." It was sent on old frequencies, low power, peaceful, ignored by most of the galaxy. But to the ones hiding in the dark, it was a lifeline. Within months, messages came back. A wounded pilot asking for shelter. A lost girl with metal eyes looking for a mother. A broken war AI who wanted to dream again, and slowly, quietly, the family grew. The station became a haven, a myth. Some called it the last star home. Others called it the Echo Sanctuary. No one knew its location, but everyone knew its promise. Mercy lives here. Jack taught young ones how to survive. Lyra became the heart of the place, healing, comforting, guiding, and Aaron? He became the pulse of the station, not a weapon, not a god, just a boy, who had learned the greatest power of all. Compassion. Years passed, but Jack never left. He stayed with them through every danger, every rescue, because deep down, he had found what he never thought he would. A home. Not on Earth, not with humans, but among the stars, with a mother who once begged for mercy and a child who would one day change the galaxy with kindness.